Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back. Today we are continuing the SOC path, SOC level 1 path. I told you guys I'm going to try to go through them quick, so I did these two last week. I'm going to try and do these two this week and maybe keep going this week and try and get a bunch out. I'm trying to get through some of the ones that are more read and just complete, but I also, if you guys watch them, you'll notice that there is a lot more context that I'm adding rather than just simply reading it to you or anything like that. So I recommend reading it or watching it and fully listening to it, because I'm adding the realistic factor that they can't add, and they just don't have the space. I mean, you just have a ton of reading if that's the case. So this helps kind of alleviate that. So we're talking about humans as attack vectors. So everyone's probably heard at this point in your cyber journey that the biggest attack vector is humans, right? Social engineering is the number one way to get into places. And this is true. I mean, it's just going to be true. It's true now. It's been true 10 years ago. It's probably going to be true 20 years from now. So it's just part of something that you have to understand, but understanding it fully, you will be amazed at how ridiculous some people can be. And what I mean by that is, we'll go through this and we'll talk about scenarios and stuff, but across my career, I've seen people just do some of the stuff that you're like, no human would ever do that. And they'll do it. And then you're like, and you have to prepare and prevent that. How? How do you prevent someone from just doing something so insane that you never thought they'd do it, right? And so that's what we're going to talk about. So before we get into it, guys, hit that like button, hit that sub button. It helps out tremendously. Most of you watched aren't subbed, and that we need to change that. We need to get you guys subbed so that way I can keep growing. That way you guys can check out the Patreon and see my newsletters I send out weekly. Check out the one-on-ones, all that stuff. So check out the links below. Huge shout out. Thank you guys so much. Thank you to all the Patreon members. And let's go ahead and dive in. Human element, right? If you're an attacker trying to break into a company, and this is one thing that people don't understand, right? One thing that I get all the time is like people, especially when I first started, a lot of my comments and stuff would be like, how do you break through a firewall? Right? Well, if the firewall is configured correctly, you don't. And people were like, well, there's a way. There has to be. That's how attackers do it. Attackers don't. They don't need to. Why would you, right? I can sit here all day long and just 12 hours a day, bring up a Palo Alto firewall and try and find a 0-day and something that nobody's ever found and beat it. And yeah, I might find something, but I might spend 2 years digging into something and 12 hours a day to find it. Okay, I could do that. Or if I can get you to click a link and then I bypass your firewall completely, well, why do I need to waste the time, right? And that's really the gist of it. Like, it's that simple, right? If I can just get you to do something, I can get the access I need, and I don't need to go through your firewall. People are getting more sophisticated. They don't talk about it on here much, but they're getting sophisticated where, okay, now, everybody has a computer at work, and that computer at work, guess what? Has all of your security tooling and all the monitoring and all that stuff on it. So what do? Send you a QR code. Well, you open that QR code, you scan it. What do you scan it with? You scan it with your phone. Guess what? I just bypassed all of your security tooling, because your phone doesn't have all the security tooling that your work has, but you just scanned it and logged into your work stuff, right? And so understand QR codes, they're getting sophisticated. They're figuring things out that, you put a defense, they put an offense over it, right? And it's just a constant cat and mouse game. And so they're not trying to beat technology. They're trying to beat you. Attackers are trying to beat SOC analysts. They're trying to beat the human. They're trying to get in that way. There's a famous quote that says, hackers don't hack in, they log in. And it's true. They just use accounts, right? It's so much easier. It's just so much easier. Yes, there are exploits, and yes, people do use exploits. That's all totally relevant and true. But the easiest initial attack vector is logging in or social engineering. It's just part of it. So why humans are targeted? Humans are targeted because of the access they can provide, right? If I get your account password, from day one, I have access into your networks. I have access into your files. I have access, all that stuff. If you know hacking, like genuinely, normally if I'm going to do like a remote code execution or something, right? I'm going to get a reverse shell, and now I'm going to basically have to complete an exploit, and those shells are sometimes iffy, and there's a chance that it gets flagged and all this other stuff, right? all of that is less stable, I'll say, than I can just log into your account, right? If I just log into your account, what's the caveat? I might get busted because it's from a different IP. Okay, cool. I change it to an IP around where you're located. Much simpler, right? So understand that it's much simpler to use credentials and trick humans than it is to try and exploit something. The other thing is nation state actors, large, big APTs, the real threats, they're not going to waste their 0 days on small companies. What I mean by that is there's a bunch of 0 days out there that nobody knows about that they have, and they're going to use them on these major companies. And that's because they don't want to get them popped. So if I use a 0 day, well, as soon as somebody investigates and reverse engineers all that, that's gone. They're going to fix it. They know that. They're not dumb. So they hold on to them. They use them when they need them, right? So if you're a mid-sized company, unless you're like a Microsoft or one of those big companies, they're probably going to save them, right? And they're going to use things like this because it's much easier. All right. So here's some examples, right? Breach Google account with the HR manager. Excuse me. So breach Google account okay, so they got the HR manager's Google account. They steal and sell the entire employee database. Pretty easy, right? If I can steal or if I can log in to the HR manager, I have everybody in the company because HR usually has access to everybody in the company, including their data, their socials, all that stuff. Tricking a wealthy person into running malware. I can use their banking info if they use that on the computer, right? And this is all stuff that's happened in the past. This is all normal stuff. If I wanted to steal money from a very wealthy person, right, it would be very hard for me to go and like hack into the bank, right? That would be insanely hard. But it wouldn't be that hard if I could get the user to make a mistake and then just transfer the funds, right? That's much easier. And so that's what they're talking about here. Breaching the IT admin's VPN account, right? So if I have the IT admin's VPN account, I can log into your network from home using a VPN as an IT admin. Well, now I have full control of everything. Trick government worker into sharing secrets. This was done, you guys probably saw this on years ago on the news. Someone did it in Discord. They like just tricked this kid into like divulging secret classified information. That's insane that he was that easily tricked, right? And so, like I said, you think that people won't do some of this stuff. I think and don't quote me on this because I have to look it back up, but I think all they did was like, he said, I have a top secret clearance. And they were like, no, you don't. And he just laid it all out for him just to show that he had one. Did you ever think that someone with a top secret clearance is that dumb? I didn't, but here we are, right? And so understand, humans will always be the weakest link. So what's the weakest link? Humans. What do attackers seek when they target humans in cyber? Access. They just want access. They don't care. Like people think that these sophisticated attackers are like, and some of the sophisticated ones are, but they think that like they're secretly getting information about you and like they're trying to like know you and all this stuff. What they're looking for at the end of the day is the access. They're trying to figure out what's your pet's name, all those security questions, all that stuff. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to get in close with you to try and learn you, to social engineer you. That's what they're trying to do. They're not trying to get to know you to like sell you. Like they're not like, oh, I have Stuffy's stuff, so I'm trying to sell. No, they want access to everything else. That's what the reality is. So understand that. Attacks targeting humans share a common trait. They rely on manipulating, right? That's the number one thing. The tactic is known as social engineering. We just talked about that. It works by exploiting human psychology rather than technical flaws. This will forever be the reality until humans are just not part of technology anymore, because humans will always be smarter and more manipulated than technology. The reason for that is, think about technology. What's it do? It does exactly what you tell it. Well, who tells it? Humans. So if a human is telling it, where's the flaw at? Where whatever the human tells it is what created the flaw. The technology didn't create the flaw. Technology did exactly what you told it. You made the mistake. So therefore, humans are always going to be the weakest link, right? So phishing attack, let's look at it. You You receive an email saying your account's been compromised. Click here for details. We've probably all seen something like this, right? And you can see security alert, new login to your 1Password account. Click here for details. You can see 1Password.top, but the S is missing. This happens all the time. People do typo squatting domains where they have something similar to what it is. If you've seen the one that's like an R and an N and it looks like an M for Microsoft, that's a really clever one. You can see this one, tax department at gov taxportal.net. Our records show that you have an outstanding tax balance, blah, blah, and then here's the malware attachment, right? So one goes to a fake URL, one goes to malware. Once they get you to download it, right, here's a zip file. Why do they use a zip file? Because it's very easy to bypass things like Windows Defender and stuff if it's zipped up, because they have to unzip it and run it to make it do anything, and it can't quite do that. Some can, some can't, depends on what you've got. Your at-home Defender probably won't. This one, complete the verification steps. This one is something that's new, clickjacking, and this one's kind of crazy to me that people do this. This is one of those things that, like, being a cyber person, you almost forget what the normal person knows about cyber. And this one is wild to me. But you see it says, press and hold the Windows R key. In the verification window, press Control V, which is paste. It automatically copies, and then you hit paste and hit enter, and it runs a command. And that command usually is malware. That's wild to me that someone would run a command on their computer because CAPTCHA told them to. But I've seen this in the wild multiple times work. It's wild. Like, it's wild that people fall for this stuff, but it is wild. And it's creative. You notice that it's very creative the way they get people to do this. One thing I want to talk about too is deepfakes. People are using deepfakes for, and I'm going to do an entire review and video on this, but on interviews and stuff like that, people are using this for so many different reasons, right? And you can see here, in one case, a finance worker received a deepfake video call from someone appearing to be their boss and tricked into $25 million for urgent business deal. Deepfake calls are a problem because if you call me looking like my boss, how do I know that it's not you? Why should I even have to question that? We're in that world now, right? And so you have to be smart, right? Is my boss going to ever call me from a random number? No. Is my boss ever going to call me from outside of work to video call me to ask about work? Probably not. Those are things you have to be conscious of and think about. But the regular person doesn't understand that technology is this good at this point, right? So impersonation. Even without deepfakes, you can impersonate someone, right? If I get a hold of your account, whether you Slack, Teams, whatever, I can message you from that person's Teams or Slack and ask for something. You will give it to me probably because you have the inherent trust. You will believe, that we're friends or we work together or whatever. That's impersonation, right? Other attacks, USB drops. Those haven't been around in a while. All right, let's see. So what is the name of an attack tactic that manipulates human psychology? Social engineering. Which social engineering method is about pretending to be someone else? Impersonation, right? All right, defending humans, Defending against threats involve two keys, mitigation and detection. Mitigation stops it, detection detects it. This is very important that you understand the difference because some people think, and if you've ever when you get deeper in your career, if you work for a SOC, you have to understand if you have detection or mitigation in place, right? Some people, for instance, might have malware detection. So it is going to tell me, hey, someone just downloaded malware, but it doesn't auto stop it or delete it or anything like that. You have to go quarantine the asset or whatever. That's the difference. And some tools can detect really well, but they don't mitigate because maybe it's a complex mitigation, et cetera, et cetera. You have to understand the difference there. So here we go. So mitigation is anti-phishing solution. So SOC routine becomes easier with a tool that blocks phishing emails before they even notice. So there's tools out there like KnowBe4 and stuff like that that will basically analyze emails as they come in, block spam, block malware, stuff like that. So that way it doesn't get millions and millions of emails. You just get, a couple thousand that you have to go through. EDR and antivirus, right? A reliable antivirus on a corporate host is a great measure. It usually if it's got the detection, will stop someone from running malware. It mitigates it, right? And sometimes you'll see some SOCs too that it happens so much. If you're a company that's that large, they don't even get alerted on it. They don't detect it. When I say they don't detect, they don't get a detection on it. They just automatically delete and move on with their day because it's that common. I don't agree with that. I'm just saying it's that there's some that do. Trust but verify. Instruct your employees how to detect deepfakes and verify suspicious. So if you get a request from somebody, sure, listen to them, hear what they say, then get off the phone and go call that person with a number that you know and verify, right? Security awareness training. Teach your employees how to detect. So the trust but verify and security awareness training and all that, those are human controls. Those are managerial admin controls, meaning you need to have policies in place that trust but verify. You have to go verify somebody or else you're going to be liable because you need to train these people. Training is everything. And go ask anyone, ask yourself, wherever you work, is the training good? Meaning you're working there and they're like, here's your security awareness training. And you take it and you just sit there and you watch a video for 10 minutes and you go, okay, good for the year. Next. Is that good training? No. Make it interactive, make it fun, make it something that people want to sit in on and make it educational. It just we have to get to that stage. So now every organization faces constant attacks targeting its employees. Keep tight connections with other teams like IT and HR, propose security improvements, and run company-wide trainings. Okay, so these are things analysts might do. Even answer hotline calls from employees suspecting the attack. This is something that I think every analyst should recommend or do. Have a line or an email inbox or something where people can report stuff. Sure, you're going to get a lot of wasted time and effort, but you'll be amazed at how many times someone reports something that you would have never caught and it leads to something bigger had someone been given that platform. And I'm telling you, it's something that people report stuff if they have the avenue to do so. Your pending tasks for today: review and investigate employees at risk. Okay. Hey, I'm a new software engineer. I urgently need 7-zip archive software, but it doesn't launch. Can you review if it's because your security tools? Upon investigation, you see a sep.exe downloaded from the best free apps 2025.top and a new freeware hosting site. Lucas tried to launch it 6 times, but it was blocked by antivirus. This is an example of where I say people do stuff that you wouldn't expect. Why do you keep trying to launch it over and over and over if it's not working, right? If you think that security is blocking it. It happens. People do this all the time. So what do? Do we quarantine it? Do we add it to the antivirus exclusion? I'm definitely not going to add it to the exclusion with just the minimal data we have here. So there we go. We quarantined the file and understood that it was probably fake based on the site it came from. Okay, now new SIM alert, suspicious email attachment. New Stripe invoice, right off the bat, suspicious, right? No reply, Stripe payments.xyz. Okay, to Mark Phillips, finance director. This email confirms that $23,650 payment from TryHackMe according to invoice, blah, blah. For details, kindly see the attached invoice.rar, password one. If you have password protected file, already a little weird. The only reason it's weird is because if it just is a confirmation, it's just an invoice. There's no sensitive data on there. I don't need you to password protect it. I'm gonna block the email and start the analysis. Hi, just got a phone from our CEO. He asked me to reset his Gmail password since he has some issues. Of course, I approved it, but why did he call at 9 p.m. and from a hidden number? That's weird, right? I don't even need to read the rest. You can check the logs and see a login from the USA, the same country Ben lives in. Ben does not respond to your message or phone calls. I wouldn't care if you did log in from the same IP. We're going to disable it until he's ready to give us the answers. New similar anonymous login location. Lewis Rose, HR assistant to Microsoft. Login location is London. Typical location is Oxford. I don't know how close those are. Those could be right next to each other. If they are next to each other, it's possible, it's feasible. Visited URLs before login. Login.microsoftonline.ru. This one's suspicious. And then mail. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and disable it until I'm more confident because I don't know what those are. Okay. And then there you go. You get your little thing. Okay. Now, when you go to security policy, select 4 policies from the left. Select them for what? I'll be honest with you, I have no idea what we're doing. So, purchase and install, I just get to select 4 things, or purchase and install reliable antivirus. Yeah, we need to do that. Security awareness program, we need to do that. Anti-phishing, we need to do that. Definitely don't do that. Document how your IT support should verify requests like password resets. That for sure. I mean, I would like vulnerability scanning, but we'll see. I have no idea what we're doing, so. All right, we got it. Those are the 4, I guess, most important is what they're trying to say. I don't know why they said that, but there you go. Pretty easy, pretty simple box, but we knocked it out. We will do the next one and get that one knocked out, and we'll keep going. I hope you guys see the value in some of what I'm adding to these, and don't just click next and go right through it, because this is truly the fundamentals and the foundations that you need to understand to work in a SOC. Like you need to understand these fundamentals so ingrained that you're not even thinking about it, that when someone does something stupid, you're like, yep, makes sense, and you're fixing it. You're not even questioning it, because you will see this happen so often. Hopefully this helps you guys, and hopefully you guys have a great day. Thanks.